Welcome to another edition of 101 Sports, where today we'll be covering
NHL,
MLB Playoffs,
and my NFL MVP picks.
And it all starts right now. Welcome inside another edition of 101 Sports. Let's get things started off with the quick hitters. And Chase, Kyrie Irving, the soap opera of Kyrie Irving continues. Still not vaccinated, could miss half the season. What can you tell me about it?
As Kyrie does, he wouldn't say much to the media, other than that he's working with the Nets for a solution, whatever that may be. If Kyrie refuses to get the vaccine, we're looking at he would lose $380,000 a home game. He wouldn't be able to attend a single Brooklyn Nets practice for the year, unless, of course, they're out of town. So if you're the Nets, this is a big question mark. You're looking at, do you trade Kyrie? If you want to, who's going to accept a player whose availability is in question? And we know availability is the best ability. The Nets would be fine without Kyrie. They have KD, they have Harden. But still, that's a big piece you're missing out on. And this team is still fully in title contention. So this is a big question for them moving forward into the season.
I mean, we definitely saw that in the postseason. It was, can this team still compete if they don't have that trio? And they never really got together. You never really saw Irving or Harden or Durant all together. And so if you're breaking up that trio, it's going to be harder for them to win because, Milwaukee, I'm still salty about that. Milwaukee beat them in the Eastern Conference semis. And Kyrie, it's like you're missing 41 games, and it's like it's not even because of an injury.
That's not even including playoffs.
Exactly.
If every series is 4 games, he's missing half of those every single series.
That's just a tough break for Kyrie. It is based on personal choice, and it's down to his health and what he wants to do. So you have to respect that. If he's willing to forego all that money to keep his values, you got to respect him for it. But Fury versus Wilder 3 this Saturday night, the third matchup. We all know the famous draw that they had in the first one, and then Fury was able to get the best in round 7 of the second fight. Who you got in round 3?
I've got Fury in this one, taking it again. This one is all about revenge for Wilder. Of course, he lost that second one, drew in the first. And his one and only loss in his career is from Fury. And Wilder made some pretty wild accusations after the last fight. Just to list a few, his ring walk outfit was too heavy for him. The ref was biased. He even admitted that his trainer was a double agent for Fury.
Oh my God.
And fired his trainer.
Nice.
So Wilder has since settled down, been in the lab, but we know what Fury is. He's one of the smartest boxers in the game. This is a huge match for boxing coming out of the pandemic. UFC has definitely taken over in the fighting world recently. So this is just a big fight in the boxing world. And, of course, I got Fury TKO in the 9th.
I'll say I got a TKO in the 8th for Tyson Fury. But, coming into this fight, there's really no more excuses for Anthony Wilder. He's lost one match in his career, and it was to Tyson Fury. And I just love the fact that these guys want to fight each other. Because I feel like you always wait for a lengthy amount of time because there's deals done and there's a fight a year down the road. But it's almost like after Wilder lost that, he's like, okay, I want a third shot. We got to have another rematch with these guys. So I just love the fact that they're going to fight again, and it should be a great matchup on Saturday. But Urban Meyer, God bless him. Stays a few extra days in Ohio, catches up with some friends, and caught a body in a bar. So Urban Meyer, what do you make of this whole Urban Meyer scandal?
I can't even tell if he's doing it on purpose anymore. I feel like he's in the headlines every week for something at practice or something relating to him. I just don't know. It's hard to tell where this will even go. There's tons of videos and tons of speculation of what's happening behind the scenes in the Jacksonville organization. This is another blow for the Jacksonville organization as a whole, which has been a mess ever since the days of Blake Bortles, even way before that. But it feels like it's just been a loop. And this was a team that was coming in with a new coach, new franchise quarterback, supposed to be all hopes and dreams. And week 4, here we are. And the question is Urban Meyer even going to last to the end of the season?
I don't personally think he will. Again, call me a conspiracy theorist or something like that, but I could personally see him wanting that USC job. So, I could maybe see him getting fired because I think the NFL is just too much for him at this point. Because, you're dealing with grown men. You're not recruiting. You're just really dealing with,
he said himself, this is like playing, I think he said Alabama every week.
Exactly. You're playing Alabama. You're playing Notre Dame every week. So it's just and they're off to a terrible start anyway. Trevor Lawrence is just, I mean, he's a rookie quarterback, but he's throwing interceptions all over the field. And
Not as many as Zach Wilson.
Not as many as Zach Wilson. Sorry for
But
you
Zach
New York Jets
Wilson
fans.
has a win.
Zach Wilson does have a win against the Titans. And so, last spot here in the quick hitters, Bubba Wallace winning at Talladega.
Yes, sir.
I mean, we're almost at the final 8 in the NASCAR Cup Series. We're down the field of 8 after Charlotte this weekend. I mean, do you still see Denny Hamlin holding on for this win, or do you think that Bubba Wallace can maybe jump with this win?
I think Bubba Wallace can definitely jump with this win. This is a massive victory for him, and it's a huge moment for NASCAR. This is the first black driver to win a NASCAR Cup Series since 1963, second all time. And after the headlines that have circled around the past year revolving about Bubba Wallace, I think it's just nice to see him get a win. I definitely think this can push him forward.
I mean, it's a great win at Talladega. I mean, Talladega, again, one of the best tracks in NASCAR. But that'll do it here for us on the Quick Hitters. We'll be right back. We're hitting the ice. NHL Preseason Predictions up next. Welcome back to this edition of 101 Sports, where today, for the first time this year, we're covering the NHL, and I'm alongside Max Kreider and Teddy Morgan. And first, division winners, guys. We're in the preseason. Teams are looking relatively good so far. Who do you got winning the Atlantic Division, Teddy?
So, contrary to Max, I've got the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'm not picking the Lightning. They just won 2 Stanley Cups, but the Maple Leafs are set for the regular season at least. They're set to be good. They have star power. They've got they're loaded up front, and they've added some depth with Andre Kasha, Nick Ritchie, Michael Bunting. I just think they've added some depth and added some goaltending depth as well. I think they're pretty good this year.
Well, first off, go Bolts, back-to-back-to-back, baby. Second off, Toronto lost to Montreal after getting a 3-1 series lead, so I cannot take them remotely seriously. And C, I can't root for them because they cut Josh Hosang from his pro tryout and signed him to the AHL instead, and I'm very sad about that. So I wish I could root for the Maple Leafs, but, I just can't, and so I just went with Tampa Bay. They've definitely had a downgrade this offseason because of pretty clear reasons if you pay attention to Twitter at all.
The salary cap.
Yeah, that's a discussion for another day. That's its whole episode.
Oh my God.
But they lost the Yanni Gourde line of Coleman, Gourde, and Goodrow, which I feel like was more of a whole is greater than the sum of its parts line, but still, all 3 of those guys will be dearly missed. But they got Corey Perry, which is the funniest thing ever. It reminds me of in Endgame when Thanos goes, "You could not live with your own failure. Where did it bring you? Back to me." Because Corey Perry lost to the Lightning in the 2020 and 2021 Cup Finals. And I was like, you know what? Can't beat him, join him. I can't blame him.
He's like the
Reverse Patrick Maroon right there.
Yep.
Or just like the KD if you don't really know the NHL that well. So, Max, you used a 6-sided die to decide your winner of the Metro Division. So what did your die tell you to pick?
It rolled a 2, which is, in this case, the New York Islanders, because I love me some alphabetical orders. The Islanders, I feel like it's the right thing to pick for the Metro, because it's a very unstable division with a lot of questions. The Islanders are the only team in that division with, not really too many questions. They've defied analytics. They've defied expectations ever since Barry Trotz came in. Incredible coach. Goaltending tandem is very good. And just all around a great system implemented by Coach Barry Trotz. And they're consistently a 100 or so point team every year. And in a chaotic Metro, you never know, that could be enough.
Yeah, I think they do have great goaltending. They added Zdeno Chara. Just add another defender, see if he'll get his cup in his probably last year. But I've got the Washington Capitals, Barry Trotz's old team. Ovi's going for that Gretzky record. Backstrom's out to start the season, and I do think that they will. They need someone to step up in his place, and Hendrix Lapierre in his first 2 preseason games, he had 4 points. I just think he can fill in that role. Connor McMichael, first-round pick from 2 years ago, I think he could also fill in that role. I just like his someone's got to step up, and that addition of youth to what you've called the retirement home, I just think that they will improve this year.
Yeah, and Zdeno Chara's coming home. And if you haven't watched for the past 20 years, which I know was longer than I've been alive, but Chara was originally drafted by the Islanders, so it would be so cool if he was able to get a Stanley Cup with his original franchise, because not too many people know, because he was on the Bruins for so long.
Yeah, I didn't know that either, but again, I don't really watch hockey, so I didn't even know he was drafted by the Islanders, and he's been playing hockey for longer than I've been alive. So you both picked for the Central Division, you both picked the Colorado Avalanche, and you both have them winning the President's Trophy. What's going to make them so dominant this year?
I mean, they just have so much star power. They brought back Gabriel Landeskog. They have McKinnon. They got Rantanen. They added Darcy Kemper in goal. I think it's probably about even with Philip Grubauer. Grubauer was third in Vezina, but I don't think that's just because of how good he is. I think that's just the skill. They brought in Jack Johnson. It's kind of nothing signing, but they didn't really lose many guys. They lost Ryan Graves, but I think they'll just have the younger guys come in, like Bowen Byram, will just fill that spot perfectly.
That's greatest defenseman of all time, Jack Johnson, you Teddy. But either way, yeah, they made a lateral move with getting Kemper after losing Grubauer to Seattle, which I didn't see coming in a million years. But Darcy Kemper is an incredible goaltender, and it's kind of come full circle in a way because, like, he played against Colorado in the 2014 playoffs, and he was the only reason Arizona didn't get swept in 2020 against the Avalanche. So they probably looked at him like, we feel kind of bad for beating you all these times, so maybe you can do the shutout goaltending this time.
The only question I have there is if Kemper stays healthy. I think they still could win the division. It's not a great Central. Even if he's not healthy, I think they could stay alive in that division and still win it.
Yeah, they're just so good.
They are also my President's winner.
I was about to say, yeah, you both have them winning the President's Trophy.
Yeah,
So they
obvious reasons.
For obvious reasons, you seem to think they're going to be very dominant. But
Yes.
you both have different Pacific winners. Our last division, you have Vegas and you have the Oilers. And I don't know a lot about hockey, but I know that the Oilers had They have Leon Draisaitl and they have Connor McDavid, and they got swept out of the playoffs. Is that true?
Yeah, they got swept, but
So why do you have them winning the division again this year if they just can't get it done in the playoffs?
the Pacific Division is horrible. Vegas is their only real competition. You've got Vegas, Max, but Vegas they got questionable depth at center with Chandler Stevenson, but the Oilers have two best players in the world, and they don't have great goaltending, but if Mike Smith can hold it together, I think they can win shootouts, like 8-5 games like they had last year. Every game last year was just an event with Connor McDavid scoring at a 150-point pace. I like their chances. It's going to be a shootout, but when you got all those California teams that just straight up suck, I just think that they got a chance, and I think they're going to win this Pacific.
Yeah, the Pacific is terrible, but the Edmonton Oilers are like your average Twitter argument. No actually viable defenses, just like the funniest jokes and hoping it works. Edmonton has basically no good defensive players. Maybe they have Evan Bouchard, and they brought in Duncan Keith, but like Keith can't play defense anymore. Yeah. That's adding fuel to the already massive bonfire that's going on over in oil country. And Vegas, I feel like, is the only at least half-secure option because, yeah, Chandler Stevenson's not the best center, but when he's got Pacioretty and Mark Stone on his wings, like, he's in good hands. Yeah. Like, Vegas feels pretty secure, and even though they traded away Marc-Andre Fleury in the worst fashion possible, they still got Robin Lehner, probably my personal favorite goaltender in the whole league.
Yeah.
So
interesting takes on Twitter as well.
Very interesting takes on Twitter. And so, division winners down. Surprise team to make the playoffs. Max, you're going with the expansion Seattle Kraken.
Yep.
Are we going to have like a Vegas 2.0?
I mean, they're not going to be as successful as Vegas, in my opinion. They don't quite have the firepower at their disposal to get it done. But again, the Pacific's not very good. And looking at all the analytics models, they're all like putting Seattle in like the high 90s in terms of points in the wins above replacement models. Mm-hmm. And even though Dave Hackstall's not necessarily known to be the best coach, he'd still definitely be able to coach a team with guys like Jordan Eberle, who the Islanders will miss dearly, Jaden Schwartz, who they got in free agency, Philip Grubauer, that entire defensive core, my boy Yanni Gourde. They're in pretty decent hands, and if they can get a good streak going, they can easily, like, at minimum, wild card at best second in the Pacific.
I'm going slightly north with my stretch playoff team that will surprise you. Vancouver, they just re-signed Pettersson and Hughes. They made an interesting move bringing in Oliver Ekman-Larsson to take over those horrible contracts that Benning signed, but they lost Cole in the expansion draft, but they also added Connor Garland. They took some maneuvering in the cap, had to get rid of Nate Schmidt, but he wasn't doing great for them. And their defense is not great. They've got Quinn Hughes, and I think if Quinn Hughes puts a Norris-level season and Pettersson he could easily win the MVP this year. I just think that they got a shot at that 7th or 8th spot in the playoffs.
And the Vancouver-Seattle rivalry should be really fun.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great.
All right, so that'll wrap it up here from the ice as we're going to hit the Major League Baseball diamond up next. In the words of the immortal Jim Moore of the Indianapolis Colts, playoffs? Yes, we're talking about playoffs today here. MLB, Sam Landsman, and Colby Cook. Sorry for that really bad impression of Jim Moore, guys, but you're good. I had to do it. We've got MLB playoffs right now. Wild card games are done. But first, who's going all the way? I mean, we're already here. We've got our playoff teams lined up. Who you got going all the way?
I got to say, the Tampa Bay Rays, let me tell you, I've always admired them personally. They have the 27th highest payroll on all of the MLB, and they've made their way to the playoffs 3 seasons in a row, and they've won the AL East. And also, that division is super, super tough. Like, you got New York, Toronto, and Boston all over 90 wins this year. They're really doing great. Signing Nelson Cruz at the trade deadline was absolutely huge. He has lots of postseason experience. He's played in 11 postseason series, and he's hit almost at a 300 batting average. I think he's going to really do well. And then, of course, you have Randy Arozarena, who's also very solid in his first MLB season. And in his last postseason, 2020, cue those highlights. Let me tell you, he hit... oh, shoot. My bad. 376 with 10 homers and 14 RBIs. Let me tell you, he went off in that postseason series. And then I feel like you're with their bullpen, and they have a lot of depth in that area, and they really can go a lot of ways. And I think they're a really hard team to beat.
You know, I like the Rays, and again, you're not Connor Witzo, so congrats for you for having a brain. I'll just go ahead and say it. But let's go ahead and take a look real quick at the Giants, because obviously the Giants are getting it done with the tandem that is B. Craw and B. Belt Brandons. And Kevin Gausman, Alex Wood, and Jacob Webb, a salty 1-2-3. Gauzy's 14-6 with a 2.81 ERA. Sadly, since he left my Bravos, Giants are second in home runs, second in ERA. They're first in wins in the big leagues, but I'll say it again.
Oh, my God.
I'll say it again.
Oh, my God.
Braves, rebuild outfield. Soler, Duvall, Peterson, Rosario. Duvall's got the league lead in RBIs. The guys are hitting home runs like a machine. The pitching is starting to put it together.
Okay.
It's a dark horse, people. It's a dark horse. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. So if the Braves can unseat the Brewers here, you're looking good. The Dodgers have had a lot of injuries coming into the postseason. Devin Williams, of course, is out for the Brew Crew. Who knows?
Fair point there.
Oh, God. We've been on this for 3 weeks, Colby. I'm sorry. Just give it a rest.
Are they out? Are they out?
They are not out,
Are they
technically.
out?
They are not out. But I don't think they're going to win.
Not
But you know who is? Matt Laguza's Mets and Connor Witzo's Cubbies. Sorry, boys.
Wow. Okay. So we're just. I mean, you already mentioned the Mets, and I think we have a Mets fan at the table. So we're just going to skip ahead to who's been the biggest disappointment.
Oh, God. Let me tell you guys. My New York Mets, it is just so sad. We finished 77-85. Going into the season, I thought we had 90 games in the bag. And let me tell you, we flat out suck, okay? I don't know what happened. Like, literally, I think, like, DeGrom, Syndergaard, and Carrasco were all out almost the whole season. DeGrom, literally, in 92 innings pitched, he had a 1.08 ERA. And then the second half, he's done. Like, it is so hard to keep rooting for this team. It is such a pain. Like, sorry. But literally. Also, with the manager, next season, I think getting rid of Rojas, excellent choice. We need someone with major league managing experience. Please, no more Mickey Callaways and Luis Rojas.
Who's your pick?
I can't take these rookie mistakes. I like Bob Melvin from the A's. I think he's going to be good. And maybe you bring in Billy Beane as well, too. You know, if you actually give that guy some money, who knows what he could possibly do. So,
here's the thing. Bob Melvin and Billy Beane aren't leaving Oakland anytime soon. And the Mets just going to Met. And, you know, as a Braves fan, I cherish your vehement suffering. Okay, but I'm just going to go ahead and we'll go with the popular pick, who at the beginning of the year was a lot of people's pick to win the World Series, and that is the San Diego Padres. And the Mets and the Padres both, to me, satisfy my requirement of check the Halloween tie. What's not up, Doc? Okay, so. I mean, the Padres, they have a loaded roster of all-stars. I mean, you've got Tatis, you've got Hosmer, you've got Cronenworth. all that pitching. They went out and got Snell and Darvish. They still had Dinelson Lamet. They still can't make it work. Jace Tingler's gone. Now who's going to manage the Padres? They've got the talent, but they don't have any farm system because Andy Green threw it all away. So they've got to win now. And by now, I mean now.
I mean, you mean
Now. He means now.
Okay. I like it. So that's more of a depressing note, but you know, on more of a bright side, you know, maybe these teams, you know, didn't make the playoffs, or you know, they've got a bright future. Who's got, you know, you guys picked the Blue Jays and the Mariners, both great teams, farm systems, both had over 90 wins.
Yes.
Who you liking?
I'm loving the Blue Jays. Like, let me tell you, they missed the playoffs by one game. They won 91 games this year. They are going to be a good team. Like, you got Vlad. He was in the Triple Crown race for most of the year. Like, he slashed .311, 48 home runs, and had 111 RBIs. Like, he really did well. And then, of course, you have Bo Bichette, who finally starting to prove himself as one of the top hitting shortstops in this league. He did have a lot of errors, but those will come. He'll be able to improve that as the season as he goes through his seasons. And then also, signing Robbie Ray was a huge piece of this team. He posted a 2.84 ERA and league-leading 248 strikeouts through 193 innings. The man's a workhorse. Okay? Like, I think this team is going to be very good in years to come. They scored third most runs in all of MLB this season. They're a powerhouse, and they are going to make the playoffs in the future.
I absolutely agree with you with the Blue Jays pick, although we did steal their wonderful GM, Alex Anthopoulos.
Yeah.
But let me take you coast to coast. We're going to Seattle. It's a trip to Mariner Town. Ty France, 291 average this year, 166 hits. Mitch Haniger, 39 bombs. Jake P. Crawford, after being left for dead in Philadelphia, has had a really, really good campaign. Jared Kelenic, of course, only a 181 average, but he's going to explode. And if you're watching it, George Kirby, the number 3 prospect in the Mariners system, 5-3, 2.53 ERA for the former Burning Bird, 67.2 innings pitched, 80 strikeouts for the number 3 prospect in the old Mariners system. It's going to be a good one, and Scott Service is going to have a nasty weapon to come out of that starting rotation in a couple years.
Yeah, I love them a lot. They were, as a Mets fan, they fought till the end. That's kind of our motto. I couldn't admire the Mariners more. I really hope they do make the postseason next year. It would be great to watch them play. Absolutely.
And none of you guys mentioned, you know, the Orioles' fantastic farm system or their 110 losses, because you did mention how stacked the AL East was, and you didn't mention the Orioles.
I know. I'm sorry. I couldn't do it.
It's just the top 4, you know, are so good. You got the Yankees and Steinbrenner. You've got the resurgent Boston Red Sox, the Jays, the Rays are, you know, they're running on a $44 million total payroll.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, just a little bit more than what the Dodgers are paying Trevor Bauer to sit at home on his couch.
And so continues my tortured run as a sports fan. But that will do it here from the Diamond. We'll be right back with some NFL MVP candidates. For the first time on this episode of 101 Sports, we're going to the Gridiron NFL MVP rankings. We're going to go to my man Chase Strasser over at the BAM with his best of the best.
All right, let's get straight into it. Number 5, I'm going to have to choose QB for the Rams, Matthew Stafford. It's a tough decision to leave some guys off the list, but there's one guy I knew I had to put on there, and that's Matthew Stafford. New team, same Stafford. He's consistently been good, but under Sean McVay has looked even better this season. He was my pick for MVP heading into the season. He's definitely held up to that. So far, 1,200 yards, 11 touchdowns. That's good for 4th in passing yards, 2nd in passing touchdowns, only 2 turnovers, 2nd in QBR. It is a tough division, so we'll have to see. They just had a bad loss to the Cardinals where he threw a pick. But in this Sean McVay offense, I love this fit. I expect Stafford to still be on this list at the end of the season. Number 4, to no surprise, I've got Mr. Patrick Mahomes, QB for the Kansas City Chiefs. Right now, he's 1st in passing touchdowns, 1st in total touchdowns, 5th in passing yards. He just had a big 5-touchdown game against the Eagles. This feels low for a guy of his caliber, but the Chiefs are 2-2. They had losses to their conference rival in the Ravens and their division rival in the Chargers. And also, he's tied for 4th most interceptions with 4 at the moment. Even so, he's still 1st in QBR. Again, this is a guy with precedence. I think he'll still be on this list at the end of the season. And number 3, I'm going to have to pick a surprise pick, QB Justin Herbert of the Chargers. I feel like not enough people are talking about the Chargers right now. They're currently 3-1. They sit atop of the AFC West. And Herbert looked good last year as a rookie. He won Offensive Rookie of the Year. But he looks even better coming into the season. He's proven guys like me wrong, who coined him as a bust heading into the season last year. He's only 8th in passing yards, 5th in passing touchdowns. But I give him the number 3 spot because of his big head-to-head win over number 4, Patrick Mahomes, and the Chiefs, in which he threw 4 touchdowns. And as I mentioned, they sit atop the AFC West, which next to the NFC West is one of the hardest divisions in football right now. They just won 2 back-to-back big division games against the Chiefs and a good win against the Raiders on Monday night. I would also say out of this list right here, he has the worst supporting cast around him. That makes him more of an MVP in my eyes. And I have hope in Justin Herbert that he can continue this throughout the season, plus bonus points for the flow. Heading into number 2, I've got QB Josh Allen. Bills are 3-1 after somehow losing to the Pittsburgh Steelers in Week 1. My team. One of the honorable mentions for MVP that's not on this list is whoever is keeping Big Ben's career alive in Pittsburgh at this very moment. But you can't ask much else of this Buffalo Bills team. They've won, and they've won handedly in their past 3 outings. Speaking of Allen, though, 4th in passing touchdowns, 4th in total touchdowns, 14th in passing yards, but that's because he hasn't had to play the full game. We've gotten to see a little bit of the MVP, Mitch Trubisky, in action. But they're in a 3-game stretch right now with 2 shutouts where they're outscoring opponents 118-21. That's insane. There's no Super Bowl contenders that they've played yet, but the Bills are getting the job done. And in my eyes, if your team is dominating and you're dominating, you're an MVP candidate in my book. And at number 1, no surprises here, I've got QB Kyler Murray for the Cardinals. Next to Patrick Mahomes, Kyler Murray is the most exciting player in football right now. He leads the league in completion percentage with 76.1. He's 3rd in yards, 9 passing touchdowns to pair that with 3 rushing touchdowns, 2nd in the league in total touchdowns. And the Cardinals are the best team in football right now. I would have said Tampa a couple weeks ago. Rams beat them. Cardinals just had a big win against the Rams. So that means Cardinals are the best in the league. And electric would be an understatement for what Kyler Murray is doing right now. The air raid offense is finally working for Cliff Kingsbury. If it didn't, he would have been on the hot seat, but he's definitely not now. And right now, I'd say if you're going to watch any player this season closely, I'd watch Kyler Murray. And those are my picks. And I said we're only just getting started with the NFL season, so a lot of football left to be played. This could look completely different in a couple weeks. But right now, this is who I got. I'm going to bounce it back to Gray.
I mean, you got the 1-2 of Kyler Murray and Josh Allen. So, I mean, that's great. And so, I mean, fantastic list. But also, I mean, no Super Bowl contenders that the Bills have played. What are you talking about? The Washington football team. They put up those 21 points.
This is true. Only team to score against them.
I get no love on this show, but it's all right. We'll be right back with a special tribute to a former Elon alum. Thank you for watching another edition of 101 Sports.
Make sure to hit that subscribe button, then notification bell, and make sure to follow us on all our social media.
And we'd like to give a special shout out to Elon University alum Joe West, who umpired his final game last night behind the plate against the Cardinals and Dodgers in the NL wildcard. We wish him a successful retirement after a long, successful stint as a Major League umpire and country music singer. But once again, whose side are you on?